This is Bob. Bob is 14 years old. He lives in the United States. He goes to a public school, and he has a standard American childhood, except for one minor detail. Every single morning, Bob is forced to commit a bizarre international ritual. He crosses the US-Canada border 4 times just to get to class and back home. Bob lives in Point Roberts, a tiny thumb of land that hangs off the Canadian coast like a geographical mistake, because of an 18th century surveying blunder. This town is physically severed from the rest of America. Over 1,000 Americans live here, but they have no high schools to simply get an education. Bob gets on a yellow bus, passes US Customs, enters Canada, and drives down a Canadian highway. And then he passes Canadian Customs and US Customs again just to re-enter his own home state of Washington. Every single day, if Bob forgets his passport, he is literally trapped in international limbo. And the scariest part? Point Roberts isn't a unique glitch. It's just the most ridiculous symptom of a 5,500-mile-long geopolitical fever dream. The US-Canada border is absolute madness. 2 massive global powers spent 2 centuries carving a permanent, nonsensical scar across the entire North American continent. Today, we're going to look at just how deep this rabbit hole goes. You might think a national border is just a theoretical line on a map or a neat fence, but the governments of the US and Canada treat this line like a fanatical religious cult. They have literally hacked a perfect, 20-foot wide path through the entire continent, from ocean to ocean. This massive project is officially called the No-Touching Zone. By law, across all 5,500 miles, not a single tree, bush, or tall blade of grass is allowed to stand within this strip, and they do not care about the terrain or common sense. Even in the deep forests of Alaska and the Yukon wilderness, where no human has walked since the gold rush, special crews regularly cut down trees. They spend millions of tax dollars every year. Why? Just so this damn line is perfectly visible from satellites and outer space. It is a monument to human obsession and paranoia. Nature tries to heal the scar, but humans stubbornly shave it back. The funny thing is, this massive deforesting project was built to showcase perfect order and mathematical precision. But if you look closely at this clear-cut line, perfectionists will start to cry. We are told since elementary school that the western border runs perfectly along the 49th parallel, a smooth, straight line splitting 2 nations, beautiful on paper, but a disaster in reality. Imagine the 1800s. British and American surveyors were handed compasses, strings, axes, and a simple order: go west, stay straight. No GPS, no satellite imagery, just thick forests, swamps, and mountains. The men did their best, fighting through uncharted territory, but they drifted. They drifted constantly. They made mistakes because of magnetic anomalies, faulty tools, and sheer exhaustion. In the end, they placed over 900 border monuments, and these pillars are in any position except a straight line. Some monuments sit hundreds of feet inside Canada, others dip south into the US. Instead of a perfect mathematical parallel, they created an ugly, jagged saw made of 900 crooked segments. And the funniest part? When satellite technology advanced, nobody bothered to fix it. By law, those crooked stone monuments driven into the dirt by exhausted 19th century men remain the permanent, sacred border. We are legally bound by the errors of guys who were just trying not to die. But while a crooked line in the forest is just a joke, the story of the Northwest Angle in Minnesota is completely insane. If Point Roberts is the thumb of border anomalies, this place is the fist. In 1783, after the American Revolutionary War, diplomats gathered in Paris to draw the map of a new world. The problem was, their map of North America was absolute garbage. The most critical piece of the border near the Great Lakes was hidden under a map inset, a tiny decorative square of paper in the corner. Gentlemen in wigs were drawing lines completely blind. They wrote in the treaty, the line should run from the Lake of the Woods due west until it intersects the mighty Mississippi River. Sounds professional and solid, but there was a tiny catch. The Mississippi River didn't run through that area at all. It ended hundreds of miles to the south. 35 years later, bureaucrats realized they messed up big time. To fix this nonsense, they decided to draw a line from the northwesternmost point of the lake straight down at a sharp 90-degree angle. This sudden, brutal 90-degree rectangle on the map completely cut off a massive piece of American land, surrounding it with Canadian territory and water. Welcome to the Northwest Angle. Today, about 100 Americans live there, and they have no land route to the US. To go to a grocery store or a hospital in their own nation, they must either take a boat across a massive lake, or You guessed it. Get a passport, pass Canadian customs, drive through Manitoba, and pass US customs again. The checkpoint there is automated, just a booth with a tablet where you have to jump on a video call to show your passport. If you think this madness only happens on land, let's move to the East Coast, into the rough waters of the Atlantic. Here, a true geopolitical comedy unfolds around Machias Seal Island. It's a tiny, miserable, barren rock, but both the US and Canada still officially claim this rock belongs to them. Canada decided to play dirty and built a massive, functioning lighthouse on the island. By international standards, whoever maintains the lighthouse and keeps a keeper there owns the land. And how did the United States respond? They used the most powerful diplomatic tactic in history. They simply pretend this Canadian lighthouse doesn't exist. It is completely absent from American maps. US border guards literally look right through it. Total government-level ghosting. There is a literal Puffin War going on. Puffins are cute little birds that tourists pay big bucks to see. Plus, the waters around the rock are packed with expensive Atlantic lobsters. Canadian and American fishermen constantly clash out there, cutting each other's nets, while the respective coast guards politely watch from a distance, trying not to trigger World War III over a lobster. It is the perfect proof that international law is mostly just an illusion and a gentleman's agreement that works perfectly until someone finds oil or gas under those rocks. We are the first generation in human history capable of documenting all this cartographic stupidity with centimeter-level precision using satellites and AI. We have supercomputers in our pockets, but we are still mentally and legally held hostage by exhausted men from the 18th century who drew borders with ropes, a compass, and flawed sketches. Physics doesn't care about your international treaties, and geography doesn't care about national pride. Topography and nature are the only things that actually dictate the landscape. Artificial borders are not symbols of national strength. They are eternal monuments to human arrogance, bureaucratic nonsense, and historical errors that Bob still pays for with his time. If you want to understand why our physical and geopolitical world is literally cracking at the seams and falling apart at the edges, literally hit subscribe. We're just beginning to peel back this global scheme.
Subscribe if you want to see the cracks before they see you.